Finally, something old is new again and still relevant to these times. It's been more than half a century since Harper Lee penned To Kill a Mockingbird. Our well-traveled and multitasking correspondent Jeffrey Brown is back again to tell us more about the rework To Kill a Mockingbird staged on Broadway and up for a handful of Tony Awards next month. It's part of our ongoing arts and culture series, Canvas.
The defendant isn't guilty, but someone in this building is.
It's a new take on one of the most beloved and well-known stories in American literature, To Kill a Mockingbird, in Aaron Sorkin's Broadway adaptation of the Harper Lee classic. Sorkin is creator of the hit TV show The West Wing.
Those walls have to be guarded by men with guns.
And writer of films including A Few Good Men.
I think that looks good. That looks really good.
And The Social Network, which won him an Oscar. When we met recently at the famed Sardi's restaurant, he said he'd had two distinct reactions when the opportunity came to bring Mockingbird to Broadway.
My heart sank because I thought this is a suicide mission. I'm never going to get out of this alive.
Right.
And I was thrilled because of the opportunity to be doing a play, to be back in a theater. My first draft of the play reflected the heart-sinking part. I simply was trying to swaddle the book in bubble wrap and gently transfer it to a stage. And the result was that first draft was tepid.
It was a sin to kill a mockingbird.
The play he finally did write, starring Jeff Daniels, still focuses on Atticus Finch, the small-town lawyer in Macomb, Alabama, tasked with defending Tom Robinson, an African-American man wrongly accused of assaulting a white woman. The story, set in the 1930s, is still told from the point of view of Finch's young daughter, Scout, who learns important lessons about race, class, and morality. The book was first published in 1960. 2 years later, it was made into an Academy Award-winning movie starring Gregory Peck as Atticus. Jeff Daniels called Sorkin's version a rethink. After getting the part, he read the book and rewatched the film.
I wanted to see how he chose to do that way, that way, and you go, okay, thank you, clocked it. Again, different medium, different script. Different time.
Different time. That's because one of the big questions is doing To Kill a Mockingbird today.
I think Harper Lee went as far as she could. Peck it was written as the great white hero, savior, and that's what he played. That was the book. That was the movie.
How much change is allowed? That became a question last year when Lee's estate sued, saying Sorkin's script unacceptably altered characters. The suit was ultimately settled, and the show went on. Sorkin argued Mockingbird today should reflect an increased awareness of racism then and now. That meant a more meaningful role for the African-American characters, the defendant, Tom Robinson, and Finch's maid, Calpurnia, who's played by LaTanya Richardson Jackson.
I don't want them hating people they disagree with.
You gotta give Macomb time, Cal. This is the Deep South. You gotta give Macomb time. Well, how much time would Macomb like?
I didn't want her to be the magical Negro, neither did I want her to just be scenery. My coming to it was filled with what I would always hope that I knew about these women, that I knew about people who was in service. And if that was gonna happen, then I was in. But if that was not what was happening, the truth of who they really were, of their strength, of how philosophically they fill the void of living for most people, then I wasn't in.
He knew that a Negro man can't feel sorry for a white woman.
Sorkin decided the lead role of Atticus Finch had to shift too, with more of an arc from the play's beginning to its end.
Is he a bad lawyer who becomes a good lawyer, a bad father who becomes a good father, a racist who becomes someone who believes in justice and equality? Of course not. It's any of those. I saw that I didn't have to give Atticus a flaw, that reading the book today, instead of back when I read it, he already had a couple. It's just that we were taught that they were virtues. Atticus says you can find goodness in anyone. It's your job to get around inside their skin.
That assertion, Sorkin said, had an echo in President Trump's remarks after the 2017 white nationalist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. Violence erupted, leaving one woman dead. The president famously said there were, quote, very fine people on both sides.
I thought, wait, Atticus is suddenly, I have some questions for Atticus. This was no longer an exercise in nostalgia. This wasn't a field trip to a museum. It wasn't an homage to one of America's favorite books. It was something new.
So let's hasten the change. Let's hasten the end of the beginning. Let's do it right now in Macomb. Let's begin by restoring this man to his family. Let's begin with justice.
It isn't enough for Atticus to lose the case and go back to his porch, get a bourbon or a tea, and then solve the Boo Radley mystery and go to bed. You've got, what are you going to do? You're the hero. What are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? And he tries to stand for his beliefs, and then he finds out that maybe we can't wait for people to find the goodness in themselves.
For Celia Keenan-Bolger, who plays Scout, the play is still squarely Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird. But she said Sorkin tugged at the themes most in need of examination today.
I think it feels very fresh. While, you know, Harper Lee wrote it in 1960 about the 30s, and here we are doing it in 2019, looking back on 1960, looking back on 1930. I mean, I think it's old and new all at once, and that's part of what makes it's an enduring piece of literature, but it's also something that can withstand a production like this, which dares, I think, to draw out the relevancy of the themes that Harper Lee put down for, you know, in the first place.
Celia Keenan-Bolger received one of To Kill a Mockingbird's 9 Tony Award nominations.
A man will have his dignity.
Also included, Jeff Daniels for Best Actor in a Leading Role. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Jeffrey Brown on Broadway.
Old and new all at once.